What's up, everyone? My name is Jeck, and welcome to yet another episode of Jeck Talks Tech. Whether you're listening to this via Anchor, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, I appreciate it very much, and I'm happy to have you. Now, before we proceed with our usual tech news of the week, I just have a good news for all the listeners. According to a stat tracker website, chartable.com, our podcast, Jeck Talks Tech, has peaked number 2 in Apple Podcast Philippines Tech News and number 25 sa Philippines News. So I do really appreciate the time that you make for listening to this pod. Again, I cannot stress it more. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Now that it's out of the way, let's proceed with what you really came in for. Here are the top tech news of the week. Since we don't have any Apple news last week, let's start with them, shall we? First news. The Apple's new chip. Now, Apple is already in talks with TSMC to fabricate custom ARM chips for Macs. Now, we already know the fact that Apple and TSMC have a long partnership, as Apple is one of the biggest customers of the Taiwanese silicon giant. Apple will be shifting to ARM chips for its wide range of Macs, and for it, the company requires a huge amount of silicon chips. So its pretty obvious destination is TSMC, and a report from DigiTimes states that by the first half of 2021, Apple will be contracting a small portion of TSMC's capacity. Now, this is no surprise for the fact that Apple is one of the oldest customers of TSMC, and its shift to its own silicons require much more chips than ever before. Although starting small, Apple will surely be relying more on TSMC. Hopefully, as rumors suggest, its first products with Apple Silicon will be in the form of MacBook Air and 13-inch MacBook Pro. This transition will take the time of 2 years to get all of its products compatible with ARM chips. However, the world is looking forward to Apple's bold decision and how its chips actually perform in the coming days. On the other hand, DigiTimes also reported that Apple will be contracting AS Media for the USB controllers in Macs with ARM silicon. Well, of course, questions still remain. Currently, developer transition kits are shipping with the similar SoCs to the one found in the iPad Pro. But when Apple ships its first consumer Mac with Apple Silicon, we'll be expecting to see somewhere or something newer. So it will be interesting to see if Apple pushes for 7nm or 5nm chips. Also, according to the report, TSMC is expecting to see big orders from Apple in the second half of 2021. This lines up nicely with Apple's timing, as the company is targeting a shift to Apple Silicon in consumer Macs by 2022. That being said, parang tuloy na yung pag-ditch ni Apple kay Intel. So right now, Intel is still producing their CPUs using a 12nm processor. And alam naman natin si Apple, if they make an announcement, they'll probably do it, for sure. Actually, this one coincides with a banger of a news by Intel a couple of days ago, because Intel says the first 10 nanometer desktop CPUs will land in the second half of 2021. Now, this Intel's announcement says that its 7 nanometer process will be delayed until 2022 or 2023. It sent shockwaves through the tech industry, but the company also revealed that its first 10 nanometer CPU for desktop won't come to market until the second half of 2021. Here's another Apple news for you. 3 nanometer chips could launch across Apple products by 2022. So kung si Intel 2023 pa yung 7 nanometer chip nila, si Apple ang target is 3 nanometer chip by 2022. Now, according to a report from Apple Insider, future iPhone and iPad chips will be manufactured using a 3 nanometer process in 2022, potentially offering major improvements over the current 7 nanometer method. That fabrication process could potentially come to Apple Silicon Macs as well. The rumor comes from Chinese website MyDrivers, which claims a source inside chip manufacturer TSMC. Now, according to the report, TSMC will begin manufacturing 7 nanometer processor this year, with 3 nanometer chips coming 2 years later in the form of the A16 processor in the iPhone and iPad. Now, compared to 5 nanometer processors, the report states that 3 nanometer chips will provide between 10 and 15% more performance, coupled with energy savings of 20 to 25%. That mirrors Apple claims at its Worldwide Developer Conference, or WWDC, last June 2020, that its own Apple Silicon chips to be used in Macs as soon as late this year, and it will offer more performance for less energy usage than current Mac processors, which is Intel. So okay na ba yun, mga Apple fans? The first 5 minutes of this episode solely for Apple. Let's proceed to the next news. Punta naman tayo sa gaming. I'm sorry for that. It just so happened that, when you are a gamer, you need to emphasize pag sinasabi mo yung gaming at saka gamer. Now this, I'm not sure if I'm gonna agree or not, but Sony's website suggests that PS5 pre-orders are imminent, limited to 1 console per household. Now, the highly anticipated PS5 reaching fever pitch. It's sick. Many are asking, who cares about the price? When can I pre-order? If some information from a new PlayStation website is anything to go by, the answer might be very soon. It also indicates that purchases will be limited to 1 per household. Sakit! But anyway, the leak is the work of a Reddit user, K. Garvey, who went digging through the source code of the new Sony's direct.playstation.com website. One of the main takeaways is that the customer will only be able to, quote-unquote, purchase 1 version of the PS5 trademark console, digital or disc. Now, this global pandemic has changed the world in so many ways, one of which is an increased demand for gaming. Spending on video games is at its highest in more than a decade, and more people are choosing home-based activities over going out and risking COVID-19 infection. As such demand for the PS5 is expected to be huge, Sony is reportedly doubling production to 10 million units. But it appears the company is still taking its precautions to ensure consumers aren't left disappointed by limiting purchases. Though anyone who wants a standard or digital version of the console, for whatever reason, will have to pre-order one of them from a third-party retailer. Elsewhere, the site also contains images of the PS5 compatible logo that could appear on upcoming cross-gen games and previously released PS4 titles. Sony has promised that almost all of its top 100 PS4 games will run on the next-gen machine at launch, but it also seems not every title will work on the PS5. The poster created a mock-up of Days Gone to show how it will look. They also note, however, that the logo may be intended for accessories. Sony is offering pre-orders for the PS5 directly from its PlayStation shop is one move for the company and will likely allow its control over the stock's level better. With the discovery of the PS5 references, does this mean that the pre-orders are imminent? It certainly looks like it won't have much longer to wait. If the Reddit user is right, they'll be available to reserve within the next 2 weeks. And that's the fact that the PS5 pre-order placeholder page is live. That was reported last week here on Jeck Talks Tech. May point nga naman si Sony. Sobrang daming mga gamers na nag-anticipate dito sa PS5 release. But the thing is, baka kulangin yung supply. So, if they're gonna limit the pre-order one user or one unit per customer, mas maraming fans ang makakakuha ng unit on release dates. Siguro ang mga magiging affected lang nitong decision ni Sony to limit one console per customer is yung mga businessmen na gustong magtayo ng computer shop with PS5. Siyempre, pag bago yung console, dadayuhin ka ng mga gamers. Kasi, siyempre, magre-rent sila doon. Gusto nilang malaro yung PS5. Especially yung 2K series. Napakaganda ng graphics. Almost realistic. So, syempre, sila yung mga naiisip ko na bibili ng maraming console. So, with this decision, mga personal copies muna ng console ang gamitin. Well, anyway, hopefully, ma-reach ni Sony yung demand. Kasi, according to the report, they are pushing for 10 million units. Damihan pa nila. Mas maraming gamers na gustong makalaro ng PS5. Alright, let's proceed to the Android news of the week. Samsung Galaxy Note 20 reportedly pushes buyers to Microsoft Xcloud instead of Google Stadia. Samsung has had a standing partnership with Microsoft, so this news shouldn't really come as any surprise. According to a report from WinFuture, the Galaxy Note 20 series will be marketing with Microsoft's Xcloud game streaming platform. With its past several flagship releases, Samsung and Microsoft have joined forces in some big ways. Microsoft's app come preloaded on most high-end Galaxy devices, and the Note 10 series even debuted an optional deep integration with Windows PCs. So I'm using Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and it's very evident that it has an integration with Windows PCs, especially Windows 10. You can actually connect wirelessly yung Samsung device mo to your PC so that you can send text message, view your pictures, or heck, meron ng desktop version si Samsung which is the DeX. Alongside the Galaxy Note 20, Samsung and Microsoft are apparently planning to push Xcloud integration as the streaming service prepares to debut the Xbox Game Pass. This new marketing will apparently refer to a Galaxy Note 20 as a mobile game console. Or can we say Xbox phone? Hopefully. With almost 100 games available, of course, users will still need an Xbox controller and Xbox Game Pass for this all to work. But interesting, this message will be such a big point of the phone. Apparently, the tagline, "The power to play from everywhere," will be used during the Note 20 launch event, and the phone will be marked as optimized for Xcloud. It's also noteworthy that this will likely keep Samsung from making any mention of Google Stadia. Somehow, some other OEMs have made clear mention of. Samsung was one of the first brands to get an official Stadia support. Notably, this comes after Samsung shut down its Play Galaxy game streaming service after just a few months. So if you guys haven't tried the Xbox Game Pass, it's free. Meron nga lang mga workarounds that you need to do in order for it to work. Just hit me up on Twitter. Follow me at Jeck. That's JERKYJECK. And I'll give you a walkthrough on how to make it work on your phone. Let's proceed to the next news. 7 Hong Kong VPN providers accused of exposing private user data. Many activists and privacy advocates turn to virtual private networks to keep their internet activity away from prying eyes. But it appears that some VPN providers might have put their customers at risk. VPN Mentor reports that sensitive user data from 7 free Hong Kong VPN services, ostensibly with no-log policies, was exposed online. The leak reportedly included connection logs, addresses, payment info, plain text passwords, and website activity. All of the companies are ultimately white labels that rebranded a common provider service. At least, some of the information went offline, although it was visible in a lot of search engines for 18 days. One of the providers, UFO VPN, claimed that it couldn't lock down its data quickly due to pandemic-related staff changes. Talaga si pandemic, no? It also maintained that the logs were only used for performance monitoring and were supposedly anonymized. Comparitech and VPN Mentor says UFO's claims are incorrect, though pointing to some sample data that mention explicit names. As it stands, the zero-log claim is clearly untrue. Now, the incident underscores the problems with white-label VPN services. It's all too easy for some companies to rebrand services without being held to account for their claims. If you're concerned about the privacy of your data, it may be better to stick to major brands. It's also particularly dangerous for Hong Kong. Critics of the government uses VPNs precisely to avoid China's surveillance and censorship. A data leak like this not only undermines the privacy of the VPNs, but risks making it for officials to crack down on dissidents. While it's unclear how much more of the info made public, this could have easily leave the VPN firms, customers scrambling to switch providers and change login details. So to those who were asking how VPN works, basically, it's one way to secure your connection. So for example, you're in the Philippines and you wanted to secure your connection, or you'd like to make it look like that you're somewhere else. So you're gonna use a VPN service. There's a lot in Play Store or Apple Store or App Store, wherever you get your apps for your phone. There's a lot of free VPN services. Yun nga lang, medyo maraming ads, but it does the trick. So if you're in the Philippines and you wanted to make it look like you're in the US to watch US Netflix shows, so you're gonna connect to a VPN service, and then the VPN will secure your connection and change your location virtually. Now, the problem with that is there's a lot of VPN companies dun sa Play Store and App Store. So it's up to the user's discretion on what VPN company should they use. So personally, now this is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but I am using TunnelBear if I wanted to secure my connection. There's a, I think, 2 gigabytes free data if you use TunnelBear for the first time, compared to those free na unlimited. The problem there is with these kinds of situation wherein na-expose yung data mo. So the purpose of securing your data, it fits the purpose. So suggestion ko lang, if you're using VPN for whatever reason, whether to watch Netflix or to watch other shows over the internet, quote unquote, I highly recommend that you get a paid service that offers, some sort of a free service, if you know what I mean. Ang sample ko nga dyan is TunnelBear. I'll make sure to put the link on the description. Another example is if you travel to a country wherein the website that you're trying to access is blocked by the country itself. Example, China. Naka-ban si Facebook and Google. You can use a VPN to make it look that you're in your original location, and you'll be able to access those sites. Speaking of VPN, let's proceed to the next news. Mozilla just launched an all-new VPN. Mozilla has become the latest online giant to enter the VPN market after revealing the launch of its own service. The new Mozilla VPN will initially be available in 5 countries: the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Singapore, Malaysia, and New Zealand, and offer what the company says is uncompromised security. The VPN will cost $4.99 per month, with no long-term contracts required and a 30-day money-back guarantee, and works across Windows and Android devices from today, with an iOS version in the works. Mozilla says its VPN can stand out from the crowd due to the trust of its customers already have from using its Firefox browser. So si Mozilla, yung creator ng Firefox browser, sikat yan, one of most used browsers sa mga computers natin. Mozilla VPN is based on a modern and lean technology, namely the WireGuard's protocol's 4,000 lines of code, making it a fraction in size of legacy protocols used by other VPN service providers, meaning it's faster browsing experience for users. The company also notes that its VPN doesn't keep user data logs without permission as part of its data privacy principles, which it says allows this service to focus only on the information needed to keep the users connected. Mozilla also says that it won't partner with any third-party analytics platform who might want to hijack user data to track anyone online, heightening the anonymity desired by many VPN users. And that's the point. The company has been working on Mozilla VPN for some time now, and with this service initially starting life as a browser extension called Firefox Private Network. Again, guys, here's another example of a trusted VPN service. Though there's a fee, alam naman natin na si Mozilla is a trusted company. So they have been working on this VPN service for quite some time now. And their product, the Mozilla Firefox, has been in the industry for quite a long time. I can still recall nung first time ko nakita to si Mozilla Firefox. Hindi ko na maalala kung kailan, to be honest. So it means sobrang tagal na nga niya. Also, I'd just like to reiterate that all the products used or referenced on this podcast is not in any way, shape, or form sponsored. Well, hopefully. So if you're listening, Tunnel Bear and Mozilla, just reach me. Give me a DM on Twitter @JerkyJack. Now let's proceed to the last news of the week. BadPower attack corrupts fast chargers to melt or set your device on fire. Chinese security researchers said that they can alter the firmware of fast chargers to cause damage to connected or charging systems, such as melts components or even sets the device on fire. The technique, named BadPower, was detailed last week in a report published by Shuwanwu Lab, a research unit of Chinese tech giant Tencent. So alam naman natin si Tencent, they are the publisher and creator of PUBG. According to researchers, BadPower works by corrupting the firmware of fast chargers, a new type of charger that was developed in the past few years to speed up charging times. A charger looks like any typical charger but works using a special firmware. This firmware talks to a connected device and negotiates a charging speed based on the device capabilities. If a fast charging feature is not supported, the fast charger delivers a standard 5 volts, but if the device can handle bigger inputs, the fast charger can deliver up to 12 volts, 20 volts, or even more for the fast charging speeds. The BadPower technique works by altering the default charging parameters to deliver more voltage than the receiving device can handle, which degrades and damages the receiver's components as they heat up, bend, melt, or even burn. As I have reported here last week, sister companies Oppo and Vivo are releasing their 120 watt charging capabilities. If the hackers will be able to somewhat hack to this kind of technology, imagine the damage that it will do to our devices. Not necessarily sa phone, because USB-C is now being, used for other devices like, our laptops, our game consoles, and any other supported devices. So imagine kung yun ang magiging source of attack ni BadPower, the damage will be done to our devices. A BadPower attack is silent, as there are no prompts or interactions that the attackers need to go through. It's also fast, as the threat actor only needs to connect their attack rig to the fast charger, wait for a few seconds, leave, and have a modified firmware. Furthermore, on some fast charger models, the attacker doesn't need a special equipment, and researchers say that the attack code can be loaded on regular smartphones and laptops. Nakaka-worry tong attack na to. When the user connects their infected smartphone or laptop to the fast charger, the malicious code modifies the charger's firmware, and going forward, fast charger will execute a power overload for any subsequently connected devices. The damage caused by a BadPower attack usually varies depending on the fast charger model and its charging capabilities, but also on the charge device and its protections. Now, the researchers tested 35 fast chargers, found 18 vulnerable. The Tencent team said they have verified their BadPower attack in practice. So they said that the selected 35 fast chargers from 234 models available on the market and found that 18 models from 8 vendors were vulnerable. The good news is that most BadPower problems can be fixed by updating the device firmware. The bad news is that the research team also analyzed 34 fast charging chips around which the fast charger model has been built. Researchers said that 18 chip vendors did not ship chips with a firmware updated option, meaning there was no way to update the firmware on the first fast charger chips. Tencent researchers said that they have notified all affected vendors about their findings, but also the Chinese National Vulnerabilities Database, or CNVD, in an attempt to accelerate the development and promotion of relevant security standards to protect against BadPower attacks. Suggestions to fix the BadPower problem includes hardening firmware to prevent unauthorized modifications, but also deploying overload protection to charge devices. Now, a demo of the BadPower attack is available at the bottom of the Tencent report. I'll make sure to link that on the description. So, ingat tayo guys. Ingat tayo na mag-download ng kung ano-anong files over the internet. Kasi yung BadPower attack pwedeng mangyari while you're downloading, say for example, a song, and then that song contains the virus. When it's downloaded to your device, it will modify the firmware of your phone or whatever device that you are using. And then when you connect it to your fast charger, uso na yan ngayon yung mga fast charging devices or fast chargers. Once you've connected it, magiging affected na rin yung device mo or charger mo. And then, lahat ng mga gagamitin nung charger or paggagamitan ng charger, magiging affected din. So, sayang. Ingat tayo. If I'm not mistaken, yung mga modern phones, they have a built-in antivirus. So, pag may nakita tayong prompt that this particular file or this particular website is not safe, maniwala tayo minsan. Yun lang. So that's all the tech news that we have for this week. I'll see you next week for more tech news. Again, all the references will be linked on the description. So if you wanted to read it yourself, then you can do so, or you can follow along as I narrate some of the tech news of the week. In addition, I just wanted to let you know, guys, that Jeck Talks Tech is a proud member of Philippine Podcast Directory. Check us out on Facebook. I'll make sure to link that on the description. So there's nothing else to do. Hit that like button if you like this type of content. Smash it if that's something you're into. 2020 style. Subscribe if you aren't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Let's make the needy techie. Peace!